Dear students, myself Dr. Sudharani, working as lecturer in chemistry, Silver Jubilee College, Kurnool. Today we are going to discuss about theories of electrolytic dissociation. Here I am discussing the three theories of electrolytic dissociation. The first one is Arrhenius theory of ionization. So in 1884, Arrhenius postulated the theory to explain the behavior of electrolytes, means electrically charged fragments. The main postulates of this theory are: when an electrolyte dissolves in water, the neutral electrolyte molecules undergo spontaneous dissociation to form charged particles, that is cations and anions. The charged ions formed from the neutral electrolyte after dissolving in water are freely move in the solution towards the oppositely charged electrodes. The ions present in a solution constantly recombine to form neutral electrolyte, means there exists a equilibrium between the undissociated molecules to the dissociated ions. For example, if you observe the aluminum sulfate, which is in equilibrium with its ions, after forming these ions, they will recombine to form the corresponding neutral electrolyte. Means there is an equilibrium between undissociated aluminum sulfate and dissociated aluminum 3 plus and SO4 2 minus ions. The last one is electrical conductivity depends on the number of ions present in solution. So, for Ostwald, another scientist, namely Ostwald, he applied the chemical equilibrium to the Arrhenius theory of electrolytic dissociation, because he assumed that there is equilibrium between undissociated molecules and dissociated ions. So, by taking the general electrolyte, he derived the relationship between degree of dissociation and dilution. Now, let us see the dissociation of a general electrolyte AB. C is the concentration in moles per liter and the degree of dissociation is alpha. So, initially the general electrolyte AB concentration is C moles per liter, which is in equilibrium with its ionic species A plus and B minus. So, at initial conditions the concentration of these fragments is 0. At equilibrium the concentration of electrolyte is C minus C alpha and C alpha and C alpha, the dissociated species. For the above equilibrium, he applied the law of mass action. So, according to law of mass action, equilibrium constant or ionization constant or dissociation constant, because here the neutral electrolyte is undergoing dissociation or ionization to form corresponding ionic species. So, K equals to the product of the concentration of products divided by the concentration of reactants. So, here we substitute the values, concentration values of products to the reactant neutral electrolyte, means C minus 1 alpha. After cancelling the concentration term in numerator and denominator, we will get this equation, that is C alpha square by 1 minus alpha. The volume V of a solution containing 1 mole of an electrolyte is called the dilution. So, means it is expressed in units of liters per mole. Dilution V contains C moles per liter, which is given by V equals to 1 by C in liters per mole and C equals to 1 by V in moles per liter. So, by observing these equation, we can say that concentration and dilution are in reciprocal. So, if we substitute this concentration value in the above equation, then we will get the ionization constant K equals to alpha square by V into 1 minus alpha. The above mathematical equation, which represents the relationship between degree of dissociation and dilution, is called as Ostwald's dilution law. This equation, where the degree of dissociation and dilution relationship equation, this equation is nothing but Ostwald's dilution law, and K is called as dissociation constant or ionization constant. but for weak electrolytes the alpha is very small when compared to 1, hence 1 minus alpha almost tends to equals to 1. Therefore, equation 1 and 2 becomes K equals to C alpha square and K equals to alpha square by V. So, we are neglecting the denominator 1 minus alpha. So, the resulting equations are these two. Or even we can express in terms of degree of dissociation. Alpha is equals to square root of reciprocal of concentration, or alpha is equals to square root of dilution. So, now we will see the experimental verification of Ostwald's dilution law. This law can be verified if we know the values of degree of dissociation at different dilutions. This can be achieved by the following equation. The alpha is equals to equivalent conductance at particular dilution to the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. And these values we can get by using conductance measurements, means equivalent conductance or molar conductance at particular dilution or equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. We will get from the conductance measurements by using Kohlraasch law. Then substituting the alpha values in the equations 1 and 2, if we observe practically constant K values, then the law is verified. But practically it was observed that K values are found to be constant only for weak electrolytes as well as electrolytes in dilute conditions, but not in the case of strong electrolytes. Means this law is not by using this law we cannot explain the conductance values of strong electrolytes. Now coming to the limitations of Ostwald's dilution law, as we already seen that this law is mainly based on the Arrhenius theory of dissociation, which assumes that only portion of electrolyte is dissociated at ordinary dilutions and complete dissociation occurs at infinite dilution. But this is true with respect to weak electrolytes, not with the strong electrolytes, because strong electrolytes are almost completely dissociated at all dilutions, and the ratio of conductance at particular dilution to the infinite dilution does not give the accurate degree of dissociation value for strong electrolytes. And another one is strong electrolytes almost completely ionized even in ordinary dilutions. Therefore, we cannot apply the law of mass action as it is applicable for equilibrium reactions. So, therefore, for explaining the high conductance of strong electrolytes, the number of theories are put forward, and among those Debye-Huckel theory of strong electrolytes is most acceptable one, and later it was developed by Onsager also. That is why it is also called as Debye-Huckel-Onsager theory of strong electrolytes, and we can also call it as modern theory of strong electrolytes. The main postulates of or features of this theory are: strong electrolytes are completely ionized or almost completely ionized at all dilutions. And the second one is every ion is surrounded by spherically symmetrical shell of oppositely charged ions, means either positive or negative ion which is surrounded by its oppositely charged ions. Such arrangement is called as ionic atmosphere, which is spherically symmetrical in absence of electric field, but in presence of electric field the central ion in its ionic atmosphere move in opposite directions towards respective electrodes. Means central ion, suppose it is a negative ion, it moves towards anode, and oppositely charged ions are positive, means cation, they will move towards cathode. The decrease in equivalent conductance with increase in concentration, the lower conductance values with increase in concentration is due to decrease in mobilities of the ions due to greater interionic effects. As we know that the ionic mobility is directly proportional to the ionic conductance value. So, The decrease in conductance with increase in concentration is due to decrease in mobility. This decrease in mobility is due to greater interionic effects in the case of strong electrolytes. And also the ratio of equivalent conductance at particular dilution to the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution does not give exactly the degree of dissociation value for strong electrolytes, but it is simply the conductance ratio. So, in spite of complete ionization, the lambda V is smaller than equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, means conductance at particular dilution is smaller than conductance at infinite dilution. The lower equivalent conductance at particular dilution or the lower mobility at ordinary dilution is explained based on the following interionic effects. Debye and Huckel, they studied a number of univalent electrolytes, univalent strong electrolytes, and based on that their studies they observed these two interionic effects. Those are asymmetric effect, also called as relaxation effect, and electrophoretic effect. First we will see the asymmetric effect and later we will go for the electrophoretic effect. Suppose now just imagine a central negative ion which is surrounded by its oppositely charged ions. This spherically symmetrical arrangement of oppositely charged ions around the central negative ion is called as ionic atmosphere, which is symmetrical in absence of electric field, but when you apply an electric field the symmetry is lost, which is due to the movement of central negative ion and its ionic atmosphere towards respective electrodes in opposite directions. So, if you observe this movement of central ion towards anode, central negative ion towards anode, there is a inward pull from the ionic atmosphere ions, and or in terms of number we can say that behind this central ion the number of oppositely charged ions are more when compared to in front of it. So, due to this the central negative ion experiences an inward pull from the ionic atmosphere, resulting a decrease in mobility of the central ion. This slowing down of the central ion is observed due to the asymmetric ionic atmosphere generation. Hence, the effect is called as asymmetric effect. This same effect we can explain in another way also, as the central ion is moving far from the ionic atmosphere in presence of electric field, a new and similar kind of ionic atmosphere is formed instantaneously. Means in presence of electric field the central ion is moving towards its respective electrode, but the ionic atmosphere spherically symmetrical atmosphere is disturbed, but a similar and new kind of ionic atmosphere is formed instantaneously to that central ion. But the rate of formation of this newly generated ionic atmosphere is less than the rate of decay of old ionic atmosphere. Means the formation of new ionic atmosphere takes more time when compared to decay of old one. That is why it means it is called as relaxation time. So, the resulting effect is relaxation effect. Now, coming to the second interionic effect, electrophoretic effect. So, here the central ion and in its ionic atmosphere, here the ionic atmosphere is associated with the solvent molecules. Here it is, imagine that in electrolytic solution the water also there, aqueous solutions. So, the ionic atmosphere is solvated with the solvent molecules, that is why I am showing like this. The central, in presence of electric field, the central ion and its ionic atmosphere, which is associated with the solvent molecules. Suppose if it is a water, this is the association of ionic atmosphere, will move towards respective electrodes in opposite directions. So, this causes a retarding influence on the movement of central ion, which is equals to the viscous resistance of the solvent. So, due to this opposite direction movement of the central ion and ionic atmosphere associated with the solvent molecules, a retarding influence on the movement of central ion is observed, which is just equals to the viscous resistance of the solvent, and which is again similar to the resistance acting on the movement of colloidal particle in presence of electric field. Hence, the resulting interionic effect also called as electrophoretic effect. So, both the above interionic effects causes the decrease in mobility of the ion in solutions of strong electrolytes. Hence, equivalent conductance at particular dilution is always less than equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. But at infinite dilution, the above two effects are minimized. The above two interionic effects, asymmetric effect and electrophoretic effect are minimized due to the greater separation of the oppositely charged ions. Due to the large separation of the oppositely charged ions results an increase in mobility, so which in turn increases the conductivity. Mobility increases, then conductance increases at infinite dilutions. Then the Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. So, all these assumptions or interionic effects they kept in a mathematical equation, that means the calculation of equivalent conductance at particular dilution equals to equivalent conductance at infinite dilution minus of A plus B multiplied by equivalent conductance at infinite dilution into square root of its concentration. Here the values A and B called as Debye-Huckel constants, or A represents the electrophoretic effect, which is equals to this value 82.4 by square root of dt into neta, which is viscosity, coefficient of viscosity of medium, and here D is the dielectric constant of medium and T is temperature in Kelvin scales. And the constant B is represents the asymmetric effect. The value of B is this one. Yeah, I already told that D is dielectric constant of the medium, T is temperature and neta is coefficient of viscosity of the medium. For water at 25 degrees centigrade, these Debye-Huckel constant values are 60.2 and 0.229. From the above equation, if you observe the above equation, it is clear that if concentration is low, the magnitude of the term, this second right hand term, so equivalent conductance at particular dilution equals to at infinite dilution conductance minus of this term. Okay. So, the second right hand term decreases at low concentrations and lambda V increases, means equivalent conductance at particular dilution increases. Hence, if concentration approaches to 0, equivalent conductance at particular dilution approaches infinite dilution equivalent conductance. This we can observe by verifying the Debye-Huckel equation by plotting the equivalent conductance values on y axis and square root of concentration on x axis. So, they studied a number of univalent electrolytes like HCl, KCl, potassium chloride, silver nitrate and sodium nitrate, and up to the concentration range of 0.02 molar. Above this or higher concentrations, they will observe deviations from this equation. So, with the HCl curve is like this, which is due to the fast moving H plus ion, that is why its equivalent conductance is higher. And if you observe the KCl, which is less than the HCl and silver nitrate, it depends on the mobility of the ions and also the concentration. So, this is slope which indicates due to the concentration. So, if you observe, if the concentration almost equals to 0, means at infinite dilution, the equivalent conductance is equals to the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. Thank you, students.